All right, I don't really have much to write on the board right now because this is going to be more of an experiment and examining our own ways that we think. So, have we already died? That's probably what I'm going to name the video. And is reincarnation real? I guess that's probably literally the title. Now, here is the experiment. Here is how I kind of examine that reincarnation, or not reincarnation, but rebirth, the term that we use in Buddhism, actually does happen. So, for example, we have already died. If you want to give a good thought about this, is that think about when you're 5 years old, and I ask you to tell me what you ate for breakfast in the summer of June when you were 5 years old. You probably couldn't remember. Maybe some people can, some people can't. Probably very few people can. And then I'll ask you what you had for lunch that day. And then I'm gonna ask you who was your favorite person that day, or favorite person, or favorite cartoon character, or favorite anything. What did you do in exact details when you were 5 years old on the 4th of June? Now, none of us really remember this. No, I'm gonna be honest. I have a pretty good memory, but that's no, not that far back. The reason I am going to explain this is that tell me what you did when you're 6 years old in the summer, the June 4th that summer, or 7 years old, or 8 years old. At some point, you probably will remember what you did on June 5th or June 4th. The thing is that just because we don't remember in exact details, or some people don't remember at all, doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old version of yourself had their own consciousness. They had their own ways of thinking, ways that they thought are the ways that they couldn't even imagine the ways that we would think now. And vice versa, we cannot revert our consciousness, our current consciousness, to a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old person and think like, oh yes, and be super excited about all the things we were excited about when we were kids. We can't do it. I mean, maybe with enough trauma or something, but let's not talk about that. But we just can't do it. We cannot consciously revert ourselves back to that. So the question I propose is that what happened to that person? What happened to that child? Now you can think of like, oh, I am that child, I am that person. But we are not. We cannot think, we cannot emulate exactly how it was, how that consciousness, that state of consciousness was at that time anymore. That consciousness is gone. That consciousness is dead. We have already died. Now, you're probably thinking, like, how is this information useful at all? Even if you've been following along, is that it helps us think about rebirth and it gives us some credence, some believability in rebirth. As in, just because we can't remember it doesn't mean it didn't happen. The actions that we did on those days had cascading effects to lead us to where we are now. Even like if we don't remember doing anything bad and or good when June 4th, when we're younger, doesn't mean that no one, condoned or reprimanded our behavior and thus leading us to the path to becoming the person that we are now. So the same actions that we did when we're that age, growing up, that we can't remember, still affects us, even if we have no recollection of it. And that's something that's really interesting to think about. Is just that if I could look at it, and really directly have like a recorder and look back in time, I could probably pinpoint the reason why I talk the way I talk, or the reasons I do the things I do. I'm like, oh yeah, that's when I started to really develop the habit of, drinking water with my pinky out. I would have like, oh yeah, I guess I saw it on some British show or something when I was like 7 years old. I don't know. But anyways, that's it. That's it. That's the talk for today. Basically, just helping us re-examine that. Yes, in a way, our consciousness changes over time. Yes, in a way that we have already died, because that consciousness is something that we cannot bring back and we cannot emulate. Our consciousness is ever evolving and ever changing. But in the same way, in order to change, it needs to be replaced. And in order to replace, the older consciousness needs to die. All right. Thank you for watching.